Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Good for him.
All righty.
That's really cool. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education meeting. Has this meeting been properly noticed?
Yes, it has.
Can you please call the roll?
Carlin.
Here.
Eliason.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
Garner.
Here.
Herzog.
Here.
Olmsted.
Here.
Peschel.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Would anybody here like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? We can do it on our own, but we usually have a student, and it looks like maybe she's late. And do you want to do it? I love it. Come on up here. This is the flag right here. If you want to come up here, and we'll start whenever you're ready. You're a brave little man. Okay. Go ahead. Face it, sir. Say, I pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the next thing is Oshkosh West High School Brass Ensemble performance. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're on to board and administrative reports. The first is board president's report. I don't have anything, so we'll move right into the superintendent's.
We have the superintendent's good news report with several items of good news.
That was mine. That was mine.
A big thank you goes out to the Roosevelt Elementary School staff who participated in a mystery family night where dinner was served and families enjoyed an evening of learning about mysteries and reading. Thank you as well to the Elks Lodge and their volunteers for providing the meal and participating in a fun evening. Congratulations to Gwen Volz, a Roosevelt student who won first place for her fire safety poster. Gwen enjoyed riding in style to school on a fire truck on October 10th. That would be fun. Thanks to all involved in organizing tours and presentations for high school students on Manufacturing Day. 2 busloads of students were able to tour the Advanced Manufacturing Center at Fox Valley Technical College and Bemis Healthcare manufacturing facility. This is a wonderful opportunity for students to see firsthand people at work and learn more about careers they're interested in pursuing in the manufacturing field, especially since manufacturing contributes more than $53 billion to Wisconsin's economic output, and over 16% of our state's workforce is directly employed in manufacturing. A special thank you to the partners who sponsored this event, including Bemis, Oshkosh Corp., Oshkosh Chamber, and Fox Valley Technical College. Jefferson Elementary School families recently participated in a Crack the Code Mystery Literacy Night, where families enjoyed a catered dinner, family reading corner, raffle, invisible writing, a mystery box, and a Crack the Code scavenger hunt. A great time was had by all who participated. Carl Traeger Middle School's 6th grade students visited a camp near Plymouth where they were able to participate in a variety of team building activities. Students at South Park Middle School celebrated Teen Read Week from October 9 through the 13th with a variety of activities that included blackout poetry, creating bookmarks featuring their favorite book or character, and doing book selfies. The students received prizes and enjoyed the fun-filled week. Congratulations to Merrill Middle School Tech Ed Department for receiving a $500 award for the 3rd year in a row at the New Manufacturing Alliance's Get Real Math premiere on October 3rd. This event celebrates an innovative approach to addressing career awareness and the importance of learning math and bringing industry and educators together. Merrill Middle School students proudly accepted their school resource officer's challenge to create their largest team to run with the cops for Special Olympics. Merrill had more than 20 participants in this great event. A huge thank you from the Oshkosh West Athletic Department to the class of 1963 for their generous $1,000 donation that will go towards the weight room project. Webster Stanley Middle School families and students participated in STEM Night, which included learning about snap circuits, wind power, robotic arms, 3D printing, and more. What night is complete without ice cream? Thanks to all in the STEM outreach program as well as Mike's Place for the ice cream donation. Oshkosh North High School Leadership 1 and 2 students learned about conflict resolution and the importance of negotiations in our everyday lives from Michael Rust, Executive Director of the Winnebago County Conflict Resolution Center. He talked about the impact of perception, 4 types of communication styles, and the platinum rule that you should communicate in the way the listener is listening. Great idea. Lakeside Elementary School staff is finding joy in all they do this school year and has a reason to celebrate. Thanks to Project Curb's volunteers who worked hard on several projects at Lakeside, the school grounds look beautiful and the school garden for next year is off to a great start. Over 300 people participated in family night to attend sessions on literacy, math, technology, and social and emotional learning. Congratulations to 5th grade student Samantha Barthels, who won the Oshkosh Fire Safety Poster Contest and also rode to school on a fire truck. She will also ride the truck in a holiday parade in November. Merrill Middle and elementary school students recently attended a presentation by Cycropia performers. They led sessions in literacy on storytelling, in science on motion and physics, and in the visual arts on costumes with 6th grade students. This event was sponsored by Arts Core Colony, a partnership between UW Oshkosh and the Payne Arts Center. That looks interesting. 2nd grade Webster Stanley Elementary School students welcomed Detective Vang to their class to learn more about claims, evidence, and reasoning, which is used to solve crimes. 3rd graders at Webster Stanley Elementary School learned about criteria and constraints by packing a backpack with gear for a trip. Students had to keep several things in mind, including how to pack to keep warm, dry, and safe the gear that weighed less than 20 pounds. They needed to weigh the pros and cons of each item that was packed, which resulted in some pretty amazing conversations. Webster Stanley Elementary School students learned about fire safety during Fire Prevention Month. Kindergarten students walked to Oshkosh Fire Station 18 to learn about safety tips, while 3rd graders had a visit from a firefighter to talk about the importance of having a safe meeting spot and 2 ways out in the case of a fire. Thought we were going to get another ride in the fire truck there. In an effort to reduce the feelings of isolation, Communities 2 students are partnering with senior living organizations in the area to connect seniors with technology. This partnership helps seniors to connect with family and the outside world, as studies show more than 2 million Americans aged 65 and older suffer from some form of depression. Rewarding relationships have been the result of this wonderful match. A great idea. A big thank you to the engineering volunteers from Oshkosh Corporation who recently engaged with students and families at the South Park Middle School's Family STEM Night. Oshkosh Chamber's Director of Education and Talent Development says that Oshkosh Corporation's leadership within the business community is the linchpin that supports career exploration and talent development with students. STEM Nights are only one example of the important partnership Oshkosh Corporation has with the area schools. Among many other supporters, Oshkosh Corporation offers youth apprenticeship opportunities, provides speakers and career exploration tours, participates in Manufacturing Day, and financially supports 7th grade students attending Finance Park. Congratulations and thank you to Oshkosh North's Tim O'Brien, who secured $600 from Donors Choose to establish a High-Q program in Oshkosh. High-Q is the oldest continuous academic quiz competition for high school students in the nation that was started in 1948 in Pennsylvania. Student teams compete to answer questions based on 14 different high school courses, some of which include history, government, sciences, literature, art, and math. ALP's 4th and 5th grade students chose to help students whose communities were recently damaged in the hurricanes. They planned a family game night where they collected donations and school supplies to send to a school in need. They also held a bake sale which brought in $124. This money will be used to purchase additional items and to ship the items to the school. Thanks to all who participated in this charitable evening. And this is the superintendent's calendar for the past few weeks.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is the listening session report.
Yes. We did have the Esther group in attendance for the listening session. We had a great conversation with them about several items. That included, we discussed a potential revenue agreement for students to get free transportation to and from school within the city of Oshkosh. We talked about the need to get good data to inform that decision so we could see exactly how many students would be impacted by this and what the need was in the community. We did discuss aligning with the city and providing an educational component for the community so that people could see what the issues really are and get educated on those. We did discuss working with area legislators to communicate the need, because obviously funding is the barrier to doing this, and so much of our funding is dictated by Madison and what we can and cannot do. So we talked a lot about the idea of working with legislators and seeing if there was a way for them to allow for some sort of expenditure like this outside of the revenue limitations that we have as a school system. And Esther is interested in providing some form of gap funding, pending available funding and board support. So I think it'll be a continuing conversation, but it was a great conversation to start with. The other item that we had, in addition to the listening session, was we had a report on the Oshkosh West High School Makeup Day and the minutes that we're going to be making up, and I would invite Dr. Brown to come and talk with us a little bit about the plan that we have in place to make up those minutes.
Right. So first of all, I just want to let you know, Julie Conrad is not here today, but she is actually with our school, Oshkosh North. They are at the New North Alliance, and I'm not sure if you knew, but both Oshkosh North and Oshkosh Corp are receiving an award for their partnership called the Excellence in Manufacturing K-12 Partnership Award. Nice. So, very nice. All right, so as you know, we had cancellation of classroom classes in the afternoon on September 14th at Oshkosh West High School. That resulted in a loss of 4.05 hours, or 243 minutes of instructional time. And so we did need to make that up. So we worked collaboratively with Oshkosh West High School administration to find a solution for making up those lost instructional minutes. And we really wanted to do that during semester one so that we had the right instructional minutes before semester exams. So the plan to make up those instructional minutes is to hold classes at Oshkosh West High School on the morning of January 22nd. January 22nd is a day that we have half day for professional development, and the other half day is record keeping. So we are asking students to come the morning of January 22nd, and Oshkosh West teachers will be excused from the professional development that morning in order to hold those classes. They will continue the record keeping in the afternoon as everyone else has in the district. Oshkosh West High School is the only one affected by this, so those who are listening to this tonight, I just want to make sure that they know that other students are not coming to school on the morning of January 22nd. It is just Oshkosh West students. If anybody wants more information about how the numbers were calculated, that is in the written report that is posted on our website under our board meetings. So I don't know if you wanted additional information, but in our next steps then, if this is voted on tonight, or after this is approved tonight, our next step is, of course, working with Cobeson to finalize the busing for that day. And the amount that is in here, the $3,690, is the estimate they had. They think that it will actually be a lower cost, but we need to wait to hear about that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other reports from committee chairs?
Education.
All righty.
The Education Committee met on Thursday, October 12th at 8:30 in the morning. We heard from Julie Conrad about 3 new courses that we're going to be offering. The first one is TV production. It's currently a 1-semester course, and a new teacher was recently hired who has a journalism, TV, and production background. She could take this class to the next level possibly by adding another semester to make the course a year long, and there would be no additional cost. We also have a new course called Movie Production, which would utilize the TV 9 production area at Oshkosh North High School. The course would include cinematography, audio manipulation, lighting techniques, post-production editing, and narrative structure in films. Students would be producing short films or full-length feature films. Additional costs for this class would include subscriptions to Adobe Creative Cloud for each student, and the estimated cost is $3,000 per year. We also will have a new Global Art course at Oshkosh West High School. Global Art is being proposed as a new course that would provide students in the Global Academy program the opportunity to look at art through the window of global history. The course can be one of 4 additional courses needed for the GAC certificate. The estimated cost for the materials and supplies for semester is $500. We have no future, our future meeting agenda items are a Rise Up update, a literacy update, and we adjourned at 8:50 a.m. and our next meeting is to be determined.
Thank you. Any other reports?
I have one. Facility and Finance Committee met on October 19th. The first point was the 2016-17 budget carryover. There was a discussion on whether some of the carryover requests could be transferred to maintenance or technology expenses. An example is the request for keyless entries at Washington. It was noted that technology pays for a set number of doors at each site, and if there are requests for additional doors, that becomes the site's responsibility. There is a substantial amount of carryover for Ready for Learning. The principal is very aware of her budget and is trying to make things equal between 18 sites. The maintenance carryover for the high school tracks in South Park will be the final costs for both projects. We also discussed Best Day Sailing Program. Sue Schnorr stated that the district's auditors requested the entire board be made aware of this company being owned by a school board member and what we pay that company. By bringing this forward, the district is fulfilling an audit requirement. State Statute 94.6.13 was cited as a possible conflict of interest. A recommendation was made to obtain a legal opinion to share with the opinion be shared with the entire board. Tax levy preview. Sue Schnorr reported that the tax levy is going down. There's a 0% increase in the revenue limit formula. Fund 38 is going down because of a large payment we made the first year. Fund 80 increased due to the CLC grants diminishing, and the district's commitment to the Oshkosh Quality of Life campaign of $20,000 for the next 3 years. Property values increased 4%, so the mill rate is going down 5%. Private school vouchers are going up significantly. Our enrollment has continued to increase despite the voucher increase. Future agenda items is the update on Oak Lawn Site Storage Facility. Our next meeting will be on November 9th at 8:30 a.m.
Wonderful. Any other reports? Okay, the next items are non-agenda related public forum. We had somebody here, and I'm not sure if she's here for that. Hi, are you here to address the board? No. Okay, you're just here for the fun?
Yeah.
All right. We enjoy having you, so. I just want to make sure that you were here to address us on an agenda item or not. Okay, good enough. Want to make sure. Okay, so seeing none, we're going to move right into the workshop, which is the presentation of the 2017-18 final budget.
Word probably got out that I was doing a
That's
budget
it.
presentation.
So you draw such a crowd.
I know. Thank you for coming. As you know, we're controlled by the revenue limit formula. The revenue limit formula has been in place since 92-93, and it controls what state aid and tax levy is together. And the two of those together is about 80% of our budget. So it's a huge part of our budget controlled by the revenue limit. So I thought what I would do briefly is just go over for you what affects that revenue limit formula. I did it more for my own benefit so I could understand and justify the increase or the decrease. So it's not really important that you understand all of these. I just wanted to explain what impacts that revenue limit formula. We did grow by students this September, and I'll address that a little later. But it's a rolling 3-year average, so that affected our revenue limit by $157,000. We applied for what's called a transfer of service. If you have to provide a service that you haven't had to provide in the past, you can apply for what's called a transfer of service. And because we've had this influx of refugee children and we're adding staffing because of those children, DPI sees that as a transfer of service. So we added 2 new staff at the elementary level for 38 refugee children that came to our district. So I could apply for a transfer of service, which added $153,000. But private school vouchers added $480,000 to our revenue limit. And then there's a line for adjusted for rescinded taxes and uncounted students, that was $105,000. Of that, $92,000 is rescinded taxes. If we ever have to pay back property taxes to one of the taxing entities, we're allowed to then put that on our revenue limit formula the next year. We also had some decreases in the revenue limit formula. Last year, in 16-17, because we didn't get any increase at all, our revenue limit was actually going to go down. And the law says that districts are held harmless if you're decreasing. So we got to increase our revenue limit last year by $203,000, otherwise we would have been less than our base. The unfortunate part about that is they take it away the next year. So this year our base started out lower by $203,000 because they gave us this hold harmless last year. Also, we were a declining enrollment district last year in 16-17, and they hold you harmless for declining enrollment. So we got to add $203,000 last year because we were declining. In 17-18, they take that away. They also give us an exemption for energy efficiency, but our payment is going down, so our exemption is less. So that one's really kind of a wash because our payment went down, so the exemption goes down. So they wash each other out, but it affected the whole revenue limit formula. The net effect of all those pluses and minuses is that this year our revenue limit formula is $455,000 less than last year. So that's basically why we have a deficit in spite of growing enrollment. Our September membership, the good news is that our September membership was up by 42 students from September of 2016. Now the difference, membership just is resident pupils converted to an FTE. So for like our 4K students, they're counted as a 0.6. And membership is not the same as the head count of student enrollment in our buildings. Membership is what's used to count the revenue limit formula, and it's used to calculate how much state aid we have. But it's our resident pupils. So if it's a student that lives here in Oshkosh but goes to Neenah under open enrollment, we count that student. If there's a student that's attending here from another district under open enrollment, we get money for that student, but it's not counted in our membership. So sometimes if you see this membership number and it doesn't match enrollment, they're not always quite the same. Membership is resident pupils converted to an FTE. But that number is up 42 from last September, which is really good news. Our summer school FTE is down 7, so the net effect of that for revenue limit purposes is a growth of 35. But because how the revenue limit formula works, it's a rolling 3-year average, it really only increased our growth by 17. Now the plus side of that rolling 3-year average is in those years where we were decreasing, the impact of the decrease isn't quite as bad. But this did add $153,000 of new revenue to us because we were growing in enrollment. Because the revenue limit affects equalization aid and tax levy, equalization aid is the state aid pot that we get. That's the biggest aid pot we get. It's about 50% of our budget is equalization aid. And we got an increase, $56 million is what we're gonna get this year. We got an increase of $660,000 over last year. But that's not additional money to spend because the revenue limit formula controls this and the tax levy. If this goes up, our levy has to go down. If equalization aid goes down, our levy can go up. It controls the two of them together. So this isn't new money to spend. It's just one of the reasons we have a decrease in property taxes for
So
this
if
year.
somebody thought that $660,000 was more money going to education, that would not be accurate.
Correct.
Thank you.
Then private school vouchers. In 2016-17, it increased our tax levy by $405,000. This year, it's increasing our tax levy by $886,000. That had an 8-cent impact on the mill rate in 16-17. It impacts our mill rate by 17 cents in 17-18. It's 115 students. 83 of those are K-8, 92 of those are 9-12. So it almost doubled, well, more than doubled from the first year.
And that's money going to the voucher schools?
Correct.
From us?
From us, right. DPI takes care of actually the behind-the-scenes transactions. We don't actually physically cut a check. But we will have our state aid decreased, and that money will be given to the private schools. But at least they allow us to, you're taxing to make up the loss of the state aid. So it's increasing the tax levy by $886,000.
Excuse me, so taxes would be lower if we didn't have the voucher system?
Correct.
Do you know, can we, I don't think we can, but do we know if, I don't know that we can know this, of those 115 students, how many of those were already enrolled and now are using the voucher? Are these new students or are these ones that are now using the voucher system and they were already students?
Unfortunately, much to my, I don't understand why, we can't know who those kids are.
Okay.
And DPI says it's because of confidentiality, which we keep information confidential all the time. So I'm not really sure why we can't know who those kids are. But I'll get
When
off
we
my
have to pay for it.
my soapbox. We can't know who those kids are.
Okay.
But I took this chart off of the DPI webpage.
Oh.
And this chart shows that 76% of the students in the choice program in 17-18 were in those private schools before. So to your question, even though we don't know the names of the kids and our enrollment isn't dropping, I am guessing that we are in that like 76% that most of those kids were in the
already
private
there.
school before.
Okay. I wasn't quite sure how to read that. I think that's what it was, but I'm just making sure.
So this is on statewide
Right.
in 17-18. Those kids, 76% of those kids were already in private
Last year.
schools before. 16 of them came from public schools. Almost 4% were not in school at all. Almost 4% were homeschooled. In 16-17 for the 17-18 year.
So we don't need to know I don't need to know their names, but we at least have numbers so that we know where they're going.
Well, yes,
Or
we
someone,
know,
yeah.
we
Okay.
know from that previous one that we have 115 students, and we know that 83 of them are in K-8 and 32 of them are in 9-12, but we don't know where they're going or who they are.
Right, okay.
We do get there on the DPI webpage. There is information, like I showed you last year, how many Lourdes and Valley Christian, how many voucher students each of those schools were accepting. But I don't know if they're Oshkosh residents or if
Oh,
they're
sure.
Neenah residents that
Okay.
are coming here, or if they're Winneconne students. They don't give us the names of the students. They give us the
So if they
information, but
come-
they don't
If
give
they
us.
come from Neenah, the voucher comes from Neenah.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And there's no requirement if a private school, if a student wants to go to a private school in another community, they can do that.
All right.
So we could have resident students here going to a private school in another community, and we would be taxing for it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Then I just want to explain some changes in Fund 80 tax levy. As you see on there, Fund 80 went up 20%, and I don't want Al to take any blame for his programs going up. The additional cost of after-school programs have been moved to Fund 80. Most of those after-school programs that we have, those CLCs, were started with grant money. But as those grant funds have disappeared, because most of those grants were for 3 to 5 year grants, that is a legitimate Fund 80 expense. And we've shown that those programs really do enhance curriculum and benefit kids. So as those grants have evaporated over the years, we've moved the cost of those programs to Fund 80. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, eCook lost part of their grant funding this year, so that's part of the increase to Fund 80. We have an after-school strings program that for some reason, which I'm not sure, was partially funded by Fund 80 and partially funded by Fund 10. That is a Fund 80 expense, so we moved the full cost of that to Fund 80. Our new communications director salary and benefits is in Fund 80 this year for the first time. And then the district made a 3-year commitment to the Oshkosh Quality of Life campaign, and that is also an increase in Fund 80. So that is why of the tax levy, Fund 80 is up 20%.
I could speak to the strings program as Mr. Wenig could also. Some years ago, that program was in jeopardy, and it was felt that it was a worthy program, and it benefited students in many ways.
Okay.
And so in order to keep the program viable, it was moved to Fund 80. However, there were no funds available in Fund 80 for such things as salaries, I believe. Mr. Wenig, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. My memory may be a little shaky there. But I know there was no money for new instruments, and elementary age children typically do not play full-size instruments. They play what are known as 1/4 or half-size or 3/4 size instruments, and so those came out of probably a Fund 10 account, because that would have been under equipment.
Okay.
So it was done to save that program, to benefit more students.
So then what we did this year is, instead of having part of it in Fund 10 and part of it in Fund 80, we just moved the whole thing to Fund 80.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you.
So changes in the preliminary budget over the budget that you approved in September, there aren't too many. We adjusted revenues to reflect the actual state aid and tax levy, because they were just estimates back when you approved the budget at the end of September. We moved $506,000 in salary and benefit costs to a grant. Our special education grant, we had a large carryover, and after too many years of having too large of a carryover, they'll tell you to either use it or you lose it. So we were taking advantage of a 1-year opportunity to spend that in salaries. However, then that just postpones a budget deficit problem to next year. We'll have to figure out how we're going to cut expenses when those costs come back onto the district budget, because the grant cannot continue to fund that year after year. We're just using carryover to fund that. So then this is the proposed tax levy. I apologize that this is slightly different than what was in your original packet. Because of the complexity of the revenue limit formula, I check it and then I recheck it and then I check it again, and then this morning I checked it again and realized I had made a $4,700 mistake. So I had to change this from what was in your original presentation. So you would have received a revised resolution for tonight, and that's why, because I had just made a mistake in Fund 10 by $4,700. Non-referendum debt, that is, for the most part, There's some older debt in there, but for the most part, that is where your energy efficiency bonds are. And because last year, 16-17, was the first year of the latest energy efficiency project, they structured the debt to make a larger payment the first year. Can't tell you exactly why they structured it that way, but so we had like a 20% increase in Fund 38 last year in 16-17 because we made a larger upfront debt payment. So now we're back to what will be probably a more reasonable payment that you will see in the future, unless we decide to take advantage of that again, but I think that's off the table because it's out of the budget. So that is why there's such a decrease in Fund 38. Fund 39 is referendum-approved debt, and so that's your Oak Lawn school debt. That's the only thing in there. And then community service, I already talked about why there's a 20% increase there. But overall, in spite of that, our tax levy is down, actually down $668,000. And because our property values actually went up 4%, which is more than they've gone up for a while. I mean, our mill rate would have gone down anyway because of tax levy going down, but our mill rate's actually going down 53 cents because of the decrease in the tax levy and the 4% increase in property values. And then I also, on another note, the motion to actually approve the budget, I had to change. 2 reasons, because I had to change the tax levy, so that changes the revenue. And then also, I forgot that I didn't adjust the voucher payment, because in the revenues, we put the full state aid payment that we're gonna get from the state. And then as an expenditure, we show an expenditure for how much leaves the district in vouchers. And I forgot to adjust that number to actual. I just had an estimated number in there. And so as long as I was making a change in the budget, I put that change in. So, any questions?
I admire your attention to detail and your willingness to go over and over these figures until they're correct. Thank you.
It's important.
I do.
And you get that tax levy wrong, and we don't levy something that we have entitled to us.
That would be bad. It's important.
All right. Anything else for Sue? No? Thank you so much, Sue. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move right into the consent resolution agenda. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background material on each item or has discussed it at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. If a board member wants to discuss any item, it will be pulled out of the consent agenda and will be voted on separately. Does anybody want anything pulled before I?
7B, please.
Okay. Anything else? Okey-doke. Board will consider approval of 1, minutes of September 27th, 2017 regular board meeting, 2, minutes of October 4th, 2017 special board meeting, 3, minutes of October 4th, 2017 executive session special board meeting, 4, minutes of October 11th, 2017 regular board meeting, 5, minutes of October 11th, 2017 executive session regular board meeting, 6, bills payable, 7, personnel, A, appointments, resignations, and salary schedule, 8, 2017 and 18 final budget, 9, 2017-18 tax levy, 10, 2018-19 high school course additions, deletions, and modifications, and 11, Oshkosh West High School participation in a varsity baseball game on Sunday, April 8, 2018 at Fox City Stadium in Appleton.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Olmsted.
Aye.
Olmsted, aye. Peschel.
Aye.
Peschel, aye. Carlin.
Aye.
Carlin, aye. Eliason.
Aye.
Eliason, aye. Evans.
Aye.
Evans, aye. Garner.
Aye.
Garner, aye. Herzog.
Aye.
Herzog, aye. Motion carried.
Okay, Resolution 7B. Be it resolved that the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education approve the retirement as filed with the Secretary to the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Garner, I just wanted to recognize Dan Protz, who's retiring as Building Custodian 2 at Reed Elementary School. He has been employed with the district since 1990, and we certainly want to wish him well in his retirement. Thank you, Dan.
All right. Anybody else? Please call the roll.
Peschel.
Aye.
Peschel, aye. Carlin?
Aye.
Carlin, aye. Eliason?
Aye.
Eliason, aye. Evans?
Aye.
Evans, aye. Garner?
Aye.
Garner, aye. Herzog?
Aye.
Herzog, aye. Olmsted?
Aye.
Olmsted, aye. Motion carried.
Okay, so we have an individually considered resolution. It's been a while, so you might have to guide me through this one here. Do I read the whole thing and then we have a discussion?
You, read the whole thing, ask for motion and second, and then you.
And then we have the, okay, right on. So 12, recognizing Oshkosh Corporation service to the Oshkosh Area School District. Whereas the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education, with grateful appreciation, does hereby acknowledge and applaud the contributions of Oshkosh Corporation as an advocate of student and district success, and whereas the success of our community schools depends upon close working relationships with industry, business, and community leaders, which includes our historic and far-reaching partnership with Oshkosh Corporation, and whereas the company gives of its time, talents, and resources to mentor, train, and inspire district students and staff, including the company's participation in a variety of district programs, including, but not limited to, youth apprenticeship in engineering and manufacturing, funding for JA Finance Park for every 8th grade student, family STEM nights, manufacturing month tours and support, career cluster showcase, structured job shadows, project grill, classroom volunteers and speakers, innovation conference, and support of Wave Robotics. And whereas the company advocates for hands-on learning and helps to prepare students to be college, career, and community ready. And additionally, whereas the businesses in our community are one of our greatest resources, and it is understood that quality employers, as well as access to employment opportunities, are essential to the quality of life and success of not only our students, but of the entire Oshkosh community. Therefore, let it be resolved that the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education does hereby convey their deep respect and profound gratitude to Oshkosh Corporation, and do recognize the company as an instrumental community and district stakeholder as filed with the Secretary to the Board of Education.
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
First of all, I have a question on the optics of this. If we have to later on approve a TIF for truck, I don't know if that's going to be a conflict.
Okay.
And also, it's, being one of 3 children in a family, I'm always concerned about not singling one person out over the other. Are we going to be doing something like this for our other corporate sponsors at some point?
Good questions.
All right, I'll go.
Okay.
We're a quiet bunch tonight. So I have similar questions as in relation to Jim, and I'm not going to repeat those because I think they're spot on. I think those are things that we need to take into thought when we do something like this. I guess I can't disagree with the nature of how this is written. Oshkosh Corporation has had a huge, profound impact on the Oshkosh community and the Fox Valley community. But there's things that we don't say that I think that if someone doesn't say them, they're not heard. And I think that one of those things is that I feel like I'm compelled to be that person to say it. So I've lived in Oshkosh my whole life. I've had family members, I've had close friends' parents, families work for Oshkosh Corporation. Oshkosh Corporation has had a huge impact in the last 15 years in Oshkosh, and it directly relates to the security that they've brought our troops within our communities, within foreign communities, protecting them in spots that are not very safe for our soldiers. And that is very, very commendable and absolutely needed. They have played a very strong role in that. But within that role, that also Oshkosh community, Oshkosh Corporation benefits from the fact that we've been at war for 15 years plus. And we can't not acknowledge that our benefits have been bought because of insecurity in the world. And so I think that needs to be acknowledged that some of our security that our community has been able to take and to be able to live from and thrive from is because there is insecurities everywhere else. And Oshkosh Corporation plays a role in keeping our soldiers safe, other soldiers safe for other countries and our allies, and even maybe even those who aren't our allies, making sure that they get the care that they need to wherever they need to be. But I think we need to acknowledge that this security has been brought because of U.S. foreign policy trying to sustain what is understood as bringing security across the world. So, so with that said, I think that's a really important thing to say. It's a part of what's not being talked about in the community, nor do I believe that someone's going to come out and talk about this as an issue in relation to this. But I think it's an important conversation to have and to put out there within our community is we stabilize on this, but how long can our communities continue to deal with this? So, again, the nature of this is spot on, absolutely spot on. You cannot deny that Oshkosh Corporation has had a huge impact on our students, on our community, and our surrounding communities. So, with that said, I guess I also kind of want to be that board member that talks about the greater conversation about the economic benefit of the city of Oshkosh providing lands, or if private companies, private developers provide lands. What do we want from that as a school board? How do we want that to benefit us as a school board, as a school district, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 20, 30 years down the line? I think we play an important role in providing advice to the city of Oshkosh of how this action alone that they could take could benefit the Oshkosh Area School District and its students that it provides services to. So what's really important to me is that we benefit now and not so much 20, 30 years down the line. And so I'd really like us to have a conversation, since we do have a say in tax incremental finance districts, what we might feel is the best way for that to come about. I'm not asking you guys to say whether Lakeshore Golf Course is the right spot or whether there's something down on the river. It's just that if we are going to use something to entice Oshkosh Corporation to stay here in Oshkosh, that's debatable, but I think we need to be clear on what we want from that. So, so my attempt now is to have a conversation that if we were to provide a TIF, tax incremental finance district, to them, what would the school board want in that TIF?
Just so that you're aware,
I know.
that's not part of this. I know, I'm so sorry, Bob. But yeah, and so I think that's one of the reasons it was worded in this way.
And
So-
that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm still on record stating my
Yes.
piece, and that's
Oh, it's-
perfectly fine.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
And I thank you for that, because I was narrow vision on this, and you were looking way outside of it. And I appreciate what you were saying. It was very, very well said.
And the point that you've both made is that if at some point we are asked to give our input on a TIF, to vote on a TIF, is this a conflict? Does this tie our hands? That's a really
Sure.
important question. If we do this and then we can't vote on that, that's a big problem. Does anybody have a feeling for whether this would be a conflict of interest or not?
No.
I don't think so, because this doesn't speak at all to any kind of funding
Okay.
and what its
This is,
impact would be on the
this is
district.
purely a recognition move.
And what they do for us, for the education.
I also think it's important to realize your comment regarding benefit now, benefit past. The resolution is worded more so recognizing the good corporate citizen they have been with us at this point in time going backwards. These are things that Oshkosh Corp has already done that our children have benefited from. This isn't necessarily aiming forward in time. This is more saying, look, this is the whereas statements mean something here. They're really looking in the rearview mirror of things that we've already benefited from versus forward-looking. So just being aware of that, this is
Okay.
more of a recognition of the past.
To the comment that was raised about, would we do this for other businesses, I think that's a very good,
Yeah.
good comment. And we have had an award offered by the Board of Education for many years, actually two, one to an individual and one to a business. And perhaps in the future, when we make such awards, we should have such a statement as this, because it's great to have someone sit at the table out there and verbalize through oral communication only what this is about, but rarely do we see a written communication about why these individuals or why these businesses have been recognized. So perhaps in the future, we could be more sensitive to whom we recognize and how that's done, in addition to a verbal commitment here, a plaque that's given, and a name on a plaque in the hallway.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments?
I would just briefly share, Mr. Peschel, that I want to thank you for, as Mr. Evans referred to, broadening out the conversation, but I think it's really in the educational context that I was very thoughtfully and articulately stated. Thank you.
You're no longer a rookie board member now.
Yeah.
I'm going to make an amendment to the resolution. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no.
I'm going to leave it as is.
Well, I was just going to say, since I'm the one that submitted this resolution, I just wanted to say a few words. And one of the reasons I submitted it is because, as we all know, Oshkosh Corporation is in a competitive situation. They are looking for new headquarters. They have said that they are looking for new headquarters. And one of the criteria for their headquarters relocation or location selection is a welcoming community. And so part of the reason that I submitted this resolution is because I wanted to show that we are a welcoming community and we appreciate all that they've done for our students. And I do firmly believe that their impact to our school district is immeasurable, and that without them and their presence in our community, our children would really suffer. So I can't say enough good things about all that they do for our community, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steph.
It's worth noting as well, Ms. Carlin, right? You've been a champion, and that's a valuable service to our board and to our community, if I can say.
Thank you.
Okay. Call the roll.
Carlin?
Aye.
Carlin, I. Eliason?
Aye.
Eliason, I. Evans?
Aye.
Evans, I. Garner?
Aye.
Garner, I. Herzog?
Aye.
Herzog, I. Olmsted?
Aye.
Olmsted, I. Peschel?
Aye,
Peschel, I. Motion carried.
Okay, request for future agenda items.
I got one.
All righty.
Directly
trouble
relates
tonight.
Let me guess.
to our conversation. Since I believe that there'll be directions being taken by the city council in the near future related to what type of package may be offered Oshkosh Corporation to continue their fine service in our community, I think it would be worth having a resolution put on our next agenda to discuss the merits of their package.
The merits of the city council package?
Yes, as it relates to the support that we as a school board bring to that.
So we're going to squeeze the educational value out of whatever they offer?
Yep.
Okay.
Our next meeting is next week. I don't know if you realize that.
And we
or
don't know
not.
when is the city council's, well, that's, did they?
They have not made a
No,
decision.
they
yet.
Okay.
So,
not till the 14th.
so let's
Yes.
put that as to
Future.
when in the future, and just kind of play it by ear as decisions are made.
Okay.
So I'm fine with that.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
During our budget conversations of the last couple of weeks, there has been a sharing of the list of areas that might have been subject to a decrease in revenue or decrease in support. Perhaps a March agenda item might be to address which of those were implemented and to what degree. I don't believe they were in rank order. Maybe they were, but I didn't recall that they were in rank order. But to know which ones of those were actually implemented this year, and what the impact was on student learning.
Okay.
One more thing. So 2 meetings ago, I'm very talkative tonight. So.
No more caffeine.
2 or 3 meetings ago, we had that discussion about a budget policy of how we were going to report the budget to the community and stuff. And it got me thinking about how we were talking about bringing something up in November or December. And I was wondering if that's something that we first wanted to put through the policy and procedures. Did I say that right?
Policy and
Yeah.
resolutions.
Policy and
Yeah.
governance.
And to
Governance.
bring something through that method instead of just creating an individually considered resolution, but giving a fair shake through the staff and through the board on that. So I guess my request would actually for me is to prepare a policy or suggestions of policies and promote them to Sherry to see if they can be on the agenda. Does that make sense or not? Not this meeting, but
Regarding how we communicate the budget?
we were talking about creating a procedure for the budget.
Well, we have the
There
procedure, so
is, yeah,
you're talking about
there's-
changes to the procedure?
Yes, let's put it at that.
So that would be a policy and governance.
Correct.
So that's future agenda for them.
Yep, and that's,
Okay.
when we left it at the last conversation, we left it as a future agenda item for the board.
Yeah.
I'm suggesting.
Kick it
moving
over to,
kick it
okay,
over there,
gotcha,
so.
thank you.
You might want to review what we have currently. And
Right.
typically
Yeah.
what is done is to talk with Sherry, and Sherry can find, or attempt to find similar policies from other districts, so we have some models
Sure.
to take a look at.
I
Some
will-
examples to take a look at.
I'll touch base with her on it.
Well, and ask Sue too, what her,
Oh, absolutely.
her current procedure is,
Right.
and whether what she feels.
And I haven't necessarily looked, so I don't necessarily know if it's a set board policy or a set policy, or if it's just a procedure that's in there. I'm assuming that there's a policy, so.
The policy would go with accordance with the state statute.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then if there was anything down from that, that would be the rules. And that
Sure.
would be what the district feels that they want to do.
Okay.
All right, any other future agenda items? All right, announcements. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purposes of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, 19.851 GA disallowance of claim.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Eliason?
Aye.
Eliason, aye. Evans?
Aye.
Evans, aye. Garner?
Aye.
Garner, aye. Herzog?
Aye.
Herzog, aye. Olmsted?
Aye.
Olmsted, aye. Peschel?
Aye.
Peschel, aye. Carlin?
Aye.
Carlin, aye. Motion carried.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome.